Hey y'all, welcome back to another Timepieces for Tomorrow video. And within this video, we're going to be talking about, is the Rolex Submariner or the Omega Seamaster better? Now, take price out of your mind, because this video we're going to talk through everything. So don't even think about price of the various two brands and references. Just hear what I've got to say. And by the way, if you haven't checked it out, subscribe, ring that bell, and check out my Rolex Submariner versus Omega Seamaster video that I filmed during 2013. Actually, these same two wristwatches, I filmed that during 2013, and you'll see how my opinions may have changed. So for starters, and we're going to talk through this, so if maybe you're about to buy a Rolex Submariner or an Omega Seamaster and you're kind of on the fence, you don't know what to do, hopefully this video helps. And if it does, feel free to send me a super thanks, not required, but if you choose to do so, you can click that thanks button down below this video, and that helps to support videos like this one. So if you haven't watched my Timepieces for Tomorrow videos already, I've been an avid wristwatch enthusiast for many years, well over 20 years. I'd have to sit down and see, well, actually probably over 30 years now. So don't claim to be the expert, but I will share with you my unfiltered feedback. And this is not the type of feedback that you're going to find anywhere else. Well, you may find it on a channel like Archie Luxury, Archibald Chesterfield III. He's arguably one of the most knowledgeable wristwatch people in the entire world. He's from Brisbane, Australia. But let's dive right in here with these two popular dive watches. So a few things that you need to be aware of first. Rolex is part of what's called the Hans Wilsdorf Foundation. There's Rolex, and then there's Tudor, which is Rolex's sister brand, which was created by Hans Wilsdorf, not to misquote Mr. Wilsdorf, but essentially to be the poor man's Rolex. And that's not the case anymore. Tudor is up on the price scale, just like Rolex and just like Omega. So, and again, we're not going to focus upon price within this video. We're simply going to dissect what is better, Rolex Submariner or Omega Seamaster. So, actually, I'm going to take the Omega Seamaster off so it doesn't continue to bang into my Submariner. And we're going to, by the way, I'm going to take this camera so we can look at these up close here in a minute. So the Omega Seamaster 300M is an incredible timepiece. Actually, it's the first proper Swiss watch that I acquired. I did a lot of, I was heavily involved with the stock market, and I wanted something nice. But at that point in time, I didn't want, although I could have gotten one, I didn't want a Rolex, and we're going to explain why. And you may have the same opinions that I do. So I got the Omega Seamaster 300M, and you'll see it up close here in a minute, but this is the Blue Wave dial, highly desirable reference. This has an aluminum bezel, or if you're across the pond, you may say aluminium bezel, but this is arguably probably the most desirable Omega Seamaster 300M reference. Nothing wrong with the current references. A lot of the Omega Seamaster 300M current references, well, they have ceramic bezels, and they're pretty much improved across the board. But from a collectability perspective, this Omega Seamaster 300M, because it's got the Blue Wave dial, which you're going to see here in a minute, it gives it a very unique look. And you notice I've got it on just a cheap rubber strap. One of the things that I'm going to go ahead and just dive right into here, the bracelet, and we're talking, this isn't the current reference Submariner. This is the 114060, which was the first Submariner with ceramic bezel. Now they've got a newer iteration that came out, I think, was it 2 or so years ago? And it's the case size, I think, is a millimeter larger. Insignificant differences unless you were a seasoned wristwatch collector. If you're looking at the Submariner and you're looking at this reference or the current reference, you're probably not going to visually notice the difference. Now, the bracelet, and that's the reason why, always, if you're purchasing a Seamaster or a Submariner, always buy it on the bracelet, because you can always choose to pick up an affordable aftermarket rubber or other type of strap if you choose to do so. And actually, I did choose to do so with my Seamaster 300M. Seamaster 300M, I've had this one right here, I've had for, I guess, almost 30 years now. But, of course, I purchased it on the on the stainless bracelet. Very well made bracelet, very comfortable, but one of the things that Omega has done, even with their current Seamaster lineup, the ones with the ceramic bezels, Omega has the same type bracelet. Love it or hate it, I actually don't like it as much, and the reason is, once you wear a Submariner, and we're focusing upon current reference Submariner with ceramic, so that's this 114060 or the current reference. Once you wear a Submariner on the bracelet is far superior in comfort and aesthetic, in my opinion, to the Omega Seamaster stainless bracelet, which I'm on a rubber strap now, and that's why. Well, why is the Seamaster, why is the Submariner's bracelet aesthetically better and more comfortable? Well, it has a bracelet taper. Starts bigger, gets smaller. The Seamaster, even the current reference, the stainless bracelet, if it has a taper at all, it's not even visually noticeable. And it's, I don't know, it just kind of makes the watch, in my opinion, the Seamaster, having it on the bracelet kind of makes the watch look fat, I guess is the best way to put it. And for that reason, I would much prefer the Seamaster on a rubber strap that's got a taper. It just looks better. Now, if Omega refreshes their bracelet in the future, then you may want to go, you may preference the bracelet over a rubber or other type strap. But, I mean, right now, if I was going with Omega Seamaster, I would definitely buy it on the stainless bracelet. Even if you have no intentions of wearing the stainless bracelet on the Seamaster, at least you would have the Omega Seamaster stainless steel bracelet if you ever chose to sell or trade the wristwatch. So always, if a wristwatch comes on a stainless bracelet, always buy it with the bracelet, and you can always choose to add a rubber strap, leather strap, whatever, after you've purchased the watch. But always purchase it on the stainless bracelet. If it's a wristwatch, it comes with a stainless bracelet, which obviously both of these do, Submariner and Omega Seamaster. So the bracelet is a big, in my opinion, fail for the Omega Seamaster. Rolex definitely wins in the bracelet department. Both are extremely well made. I'm not making my comments in regards to the Seamaster's bracelet because of build quality or durability. It's exceptionally well made. Seems like the bracelet will last for a long time. But the aesthetic, the lack of taper, and not as comfortable as the Submariner's bracelet, that's what encouraged me to switch to the rubber strap. Now, curiously enough, I wore this Seamaster 300M on the Omega stainless bracelet for many years. Let's see, probably 13 or so years on the stainless bracelet. But then when I got the Submariner in 2013, I quickly began to dislike the stainless bracelet on the Omega Seamaster. So if you haven't owned either, you may purchase the Omega Seamaster and be perfectly happy with the bracelet. And I was, like I said, for 13 years. But when you experience better, then you don't want to, so that's why I'm wearing the Seamaster. When I wear the Seamaster, I'm wearing it on the rubber strap now. So that's a small detail that you're probably not going to hear from other people when they're saying, should I buy the Rolex Submariner or should I buy the Omega Seamaster? Now, both of these brands, Rolex obviously is the king of marketing. Omega, they have advertisements as well. Rolex is part of the Hans Wilsdorf Foundation. So it's only Rolex and the poor man's Rolex, Tudor, which isn't the poor man's Rolex anymore because Tudor prices have gone up. Because of Rolex's excellent marketing, almost every year Rolex will do an annual price increase. So they may do it only for stainless models. They may do it for precious metals models. They may do it across the board. But because a price increase is almost always going to happen annually, with Rolex, the prices continue to increase. Omega often raises their prices too. Now, we're currently in a very unique situation because of the tariffs, the Swiss tariffs. So we're seeing both brands, the prices propel on top of the standard, let's say, standard annual price increases. I will tell you from a build quality perspective, both Omega and Rolex Submariner are absolutely exceptional. Rolex is often always going to be at a higher price point simply because of a few things. Number one, they're excellent marketing. They've developed brand recognition. Even people that don't know wristwatches, maybe you're one of these people, and that's fine, but maybe you're the one and done wristwatch person. You're going to buy one and you're never going to think about it again. And often people that are in that wheelhouse, they may not even know that other wristwatches exist. They may think that Rolex is the holy grail and it's the best of the best just because of Rolex's excellent marketing. And because of Rolex's excellent marketing, a lot of people falsely assume that Rolex is the only and the best wristwatch on the market. So if you go with the Rolex Submariner, there's no questioning. People will know that, oh, you got a Rolex because it's Submariner, probably one of the most recognizable Rolex references. That can be a good and a bad thing, and we're going to dive into that here in a moment within this video. But Rolex definitely wins from a brand recognition and prestige perspective. Omega, like I said, equally excellent dive watches. Both of these watches, actually, if you're into James Bond, both have James Bond connection. The Submariner, and then also the Omega Seamaster. So you're going to get, if you're a James Bond junkie, you're going to have that connection with either of the wristwatches. Now, a few things I would say if you're choosing between Rolex Submariner and Omega Seamaster would be, now the Seamaster has a date, so you can tell what day it is. But it doesn't have anything called it doesn't have what's called a cyclops, which is that magnifier that sticks on top of the sapphire crystal. The Rolex Submariner that I have has no date, and that's the one you would want because the sapphire crystal is flat. There's no date magnifier. It's more desirable, and it has dial symmetry. A lot of people don't go into that when they think, oh, I'm going to buy a Submariner or a Seamaster. Keep in mind, there is the Submariner, and then there is the Submariner date. The Submariner date has the date, but it also has the cyclops, which in my opinion, and in the opinion of many, makes the Submariner date a lot less desirable than the Submariner that has no date. So that's the thing to take into consideration. But if you're going with Omega Seamaster, you're getting a date, but you're not getting that annoying cyclops that just makes it look horrible, in my opinion. Now, that's an opinion, but it's something you may not have known and something you should consider because obviously you're trying to decide, should I purchase Rolex Submariner or should I purchase Omega Seamaster? Now, Rolex has in-house movements, meaning that they develop all of their movements in-house, super high quality. Now, as Omega, on the other hand, Omega often uses, now Omega nowadays has a lot of in-house movements and they're rock solid. Even the older movements are rock solid, although some of the older Omega movements are based off of what are called modified ETA movements. The only time I'm aware of where Rolex used a third party for a movement, I think, was the Daytona, and Rolex, for maybe one or a handful of Daytona references, they leveraged a Zenith movement in one of the Daytonas, but I'm not aware of Rolex using non-in-house movements for other Rolex wristwatches. Now that's a comment that's worth mentioning because the in-house, I mean, although Omega does in-house movements in a lot of their newer references, the fact that Rolex is heavily in-house elevates Rolex another level when it comes to prestige within the wristwatch community. So that's something worth mentioning. Also worth mentioning, the older reference Rolex, this is not the most current Submariner, but it's the previous reference, it's ceramic. The pre-ceramic Rolexes, a lot of those have very poor quality bracelets. They just don't have the ruggedness of the current reference Rolex. So I would say the older reference Omegas are a lot better than the older reference Rolexes. That's my opinion. But I will say, and this is taking price, marketing, everything out of the picture, the current reference Submariners and the current reference Omega Seamasters are pretty much on par with one another. The differentiator for me being the bracelet. Like I said, I don't like the stainless bracelet on this older reference Omega Seamaster or the current reference Omega Seamaster. I just don't like the stainless bracelet because of what I mentioned earlier within this video. But what I would do, if you're going Seamaster instead of Submariner, I would also consider, if you're not necessarily wanting to go new, you can get an older reference Omega Seamaster. I would go with the blue wave dial, which is this, which you'll see when we move the camera closer here in a minute. But the blue wave dial gives it a unique look. You can put it on a rubber strap and you've got something that looks current but is built like a tank. Now, obviously the older reference Seamaster like this has an aluminum bezel, which can be a desirable thing. The bezel on this one, as you'll see in a minute, has developed what's called a patina. It fades over time. Ceramic probably won't fade, and it probably won't show wear and tear like an aluminum bezel will do. So that's in the eyes of the collector. Do you want it to develop patina or do you not? That's a personal preference. As far as resale value is concerned, we're not putting price into the purchase decision, but as far as future appreciation possibility, future resale possibility, if you ever decided to trade or sell, typically the Rolex resale value is probably always going to be stronger, and you're probably always going to be able to sell a Rolex more quickly just because of the excellent marketing. People know Rolex. They may not know Omega, and we're talking about non-watch community people. But you're probably going to be able to sell your Rolex a lot more quickly, and potentially, I mean, depending upon the deal you got and when you bought it, you may sell or trade a Rolex in used condition for more than you paid for it new. So, I mean, and not to say that that Omega Seamaster doesn't appreciate, because like Rolex, they do typically have the annual price increases, and the Omega Seamaster is a highly desirable piece. Now, something else that you haven't thought about, or you may not have known about, which is fine, that's why you're watching this video, Omega has so many iterations of the Seamaster. Rolex has a few iterations of the Submariner. On the stainless, they have the Submariner, which has no date. They have the Submariner date, which has the date. Then you get into the ones like the Hulk, which has a green bezel, and there's several other Submariner references that are stainless that have a colored bezel. But then you get into the precious metals Submariner dates. There's not a precious metals Submariner without a date to my knowledge. But there's a lot lesser quantity of Submariner references than Omega Seamaster references. And a lot of people, for some people that's a good thing because there's more to consider when you're making the purchase decision. But for other people, they'll say that the quantity of Omega Seamaster variations could potentially hurt the the future resale value of the piece if you ever decided to sell or trade. So there's two ways to look at it. But if you're looking for, at least in today's world, and this has been the case for the past few years, for the greatest possibility of resale and potential price appreciation, Rolex Submariner is definitely the way to go over the Omega Seamaster. So I talked about the price without talking about the price of acquisition. I'm just talking about the possibility of value retention if Omega and Rolex continue to behave like they have for the past few years. Now we're going to talk about why would someone want to go Omega over Rolex. Well, Both of these wristwatches are excellent. 300 meters, 1,000 feet water resistance. I mean, typically going in the swimming pool or the ocean, you're not going to get, you're maybe only going to go a few feet underneath the water. So this is probably more than enough water resistance for most. The person that is looking for a one and done wristwatch, all they want is one proper wristwatch, they're probably going to want to go with Submariner, because if they go with the Seamaster, they're probably always in their mind going to think, man, if I'd only saved up a little bit more, I could have had the Submariner, but I settled for the Seamaster. So if you're only going for one, definitely go with the Submariner. But if you're wanting to get into wristwatch collecting, in that case, what I would do, I would still go with the Submariner first, because you can always add a Seamaster later. And then that way, having the Seamaster doesn't feel like a compromise. I did it the opposite direction, so there's another school of thought. I did it in the opposite direction, and the reason I got the Seamaster first is that at the time, a Seamaster at an authorized dealer was super inexpensive, and I was able to haggle and get a steep discount at the authorized dealer. So for me, the acquisition of the Seamaster before the Submariner made sense. I mean, it was a bargain, and I knew that it would likely continue to appreciate. And at the time, because I've always been a hustler and doing stock market and all of that, at the time I wanted something nice, but I didn't want to look like I was, because that's the other thing with the Rolex, is that because of the marketing, it has that stigma associated with it, which can, to some people, be a negative, because they see the Rolex and they think that somebody's a multimillionaire, and that's not necessarily the case. Whereas with Omega, it's more fly under the radar. It's kind of more stealth wealth over Rolex Submariner. And speaking of that, one of the other negative aspects of the Rolex Submariner is it's got the stigma. There's a lot of people that know nothing about watches, and what's the first watch they're probably going to pick up? They're probably going to pick up the Rolex Submariner, because everybody knows when they see it, it's Rolex. And they know probably very little about wristwatches. The truth of the matter is the Rolex Submariner is an excellent watch, just like the Seamaster, but there's a lot of people that will buy the Submariner for the wrong reason. So if you buy a Submariner, then potentially people see you with a Submariner, and they may falsely assume that, no, this guy knows nothing about wristwatches. So there's that stigma that can be a negative. But if you're like me, you don't care what people say or what people think, so all of that is irrelevant. And, like I said, I got the Seamaster first because I had a steep discount at the authorized dealer. I got the Submariner next because they had released it was shortly after they had released the first Submariner reference with ceramic bezel. And I got it because I negotiated a steep discount at the authorized dealer. Now, looking at today, and not to get into price as being a factor that influences the purchase decision of Seamaster or Submariner, but today, if you go to a Rolex authorized dealer, they probably don't have any Submariners in stock. If they do, they're probably for exhibition only, display only, meaning you can't buy them. And the authorized dealer may say, well, would you want to be on a waiting list? And that potentially could take years, and there's no guarantee that you'll even be offered the opportunity to purchase a Submariner. Omega, on the other hand, you can walk into any Omega authorized dealer, or you can even shop Omega online. At the time of filming this, you can't buy Rolex online on Rolex.com. You've got to go to an authorized dealer, brick and mortar, to buy it. And there's a secondary market where you can find both, but you're going to find on the secondary market that Rolex Submariner is considerably over MSRP, the retail price that one would expect to pay at an authorized dealer, whereas Seamaster, some of the Seamaster references potentially on the secondary market could be found at a discount. Now, the disadvantage of the secondary market is you're not purchasing from an authorized dealer, so there's no guarantee that it's 100% authentic. Maybe there's some parts that have been modified, who knows. it's a risky thing to consider purchasing from a non-authorized dealer, because you don't know what you're going to get, and there's probably not going to be any warranty. So if you're in a rush, going to Omega.com or an Omega authorized dealer, they're probably going to have pretty much every Omega Seamaster reference in stock. Whereas with Rolex, at least at the time of filming this video, you can't purchase Rolex on their website. You've got to go to an authorized dealer. So if getting it in a timely fashion is a concern, Seamaster is going to win. And there's so many things here that come into play, and it's neither one of these wristwatches are a bad decision. Both are built like a tank. I mean, I can speak from experience. Like I said, I got this, I think it was early, maybe it was around 2000. And what is it now, 2025? So I've had it 25 years, almost 26 years. Hasn't leaked. The sapphire crystal hasn't scratched. By the way, both of these have sapphire crystal glass. Some of the older wristwatches had variations of plastic, which will scratch and you have to buff out. These are both sapphire crystal, so I don't see any visible scratches, and that's over 25 years of wear and tear and abuse. Now the bezel is discolored by design because it's aluminum, and it's got a scratch in it because I banged it into walls. I mean, both of these wristwatches are meant to be worn. You know, don't baby them. I mean, wear them and beat them up. But there's no quality as far as reliability and durability. Both of these, I'm going to say, are equal. So there's just things that I just mentioned that you should take into account. Now let's go ahead and get the camera over here closer, and I'm going to show you both of these up close. One of the first things you want to look at is the case profile. How thick is the case? How fat is the case? You can see here, that's a good comparison. The Omega Seamaster 300M will wear a little bit less tall on the wrist. Insignificant difference, but definitely a difference worth mentioning. And then here you can see what I'd mentioned earlier, the bracelet taper. See the bracelet, it goes from smaller to larger. Both of these, if you wanted to take off the bracelet, you could, and you could put it on, like I did with this, a rubber strap for the Seamaster 300M. See, look at that. See, it's got the taper. It looks good. Now, the bezel action on both of these, you can hear the bezel on the Seamaster, and then the bezel on the Submariner. And you noticed how easy it was for me to manipulate the bezel of the Submariner wearing gloves. Did that intentionally because the Seamaster with gloves is a little bit more difficult to manipulate. I think the bezel sound and bezel feel of the Submariner feels more premium. The Submariner feels more premium than the Omega Seamaster 300M's bezel action. And the Submariner's bezel, as you just witnessed, is a lot easier to grip with gloves or you know, wet or sweaty hands. Because ultimately both of these are dive watches, so you're going to probably be using them with wet hands. So that's another thing to consider. The Submariner has micro adjustments on the clasp. So if you get fat or you get skinny, you can adjust it without having to use tools. So that's a value add for the Submariner. And obviously I've got the stainless bracelet, but I don't have the Seamaster on the stainless bracelet. And this is just a cheap rubber strap that I bought online. So if y'all are worried about the strap and you're like, man, that kind of looks questionable or whatever, like I said, I just bought this rubber strap online. So it's not something I picked up at an authorized dealer. But I think it looks nice. I think it looks better than the Submariners. I'm sorry. I think the rubber strap on the Seamaster looks better than the stainless steel bracelet on the Seamaster. But again, always purchase on the stainless bracelet if stainless bracelet's an option, because you can always add any type of strap later. But it's hard to acquire an authentic bracelet later, and it's probably a lot more expensive. So, but as far as size here, I mean, looking at them top down, I mean, you're looking at very similar dimensions. The Submariner here is 40 millimeters. I think the Seamaster is 40 as well. But they wear about the same. As I mentioned, the Submariner has a little bit taller on the wrist look than the Seamaster, but it's a negligible difference. Neither of them look like they're too case thick or too case tall. So either way you go, if you go Submariner or if you go Seamaster, you're probably going to be extremely happy, and may not, I mean, unless you're addicted to wristwatches, you're probably not going to want the other, unless you go Omega Seamaster first and you feel like you made a compromise, because that's going to gnaw at you. So if you're only going to go with one and you think you might want the Submariner, definitely go with the Submariner. But if you think you may get both, still go with the Submariner first and add the Seamaster later, because unless market conditions change, the Seamaster is probably always going to be easy to go to an authorized dealer or simply go to omega.com and acquire, whereas unless market conditions change, the Rolex Submariner is often always going to be a lot more challenging to acquire. So for that reason, if you're torn, yeah, go with the Submariner first. And if quick acquisition is a must, well, there's your answer. Go with the Seamaster, because you're probably going to have to wait, unless you've got a relationship with your authorized dealer. With today's market conditions at the time of filming this, you're probably going to have to wait a while for the Submariner. But either way you go, you're going to be happy, because these are wear anywhere wristwatches. They're both iconic. They've both got outstanding brand recognition. They've both got the James Bond connection, if that matters to you. And they're arguably two of the most iconic wristwatches in the world. Definitely two of the most iconic dive watches in the world. And I say that by meaning they're highly recognizable. They're both from highly respected watchmakers, and pretty much even the non-watch people, pretty much everybody will know what a Submariner is, and a lot of people also know what the Seamaster is. But can't go wrong with either, and I hope this video helped. Again, if it did, feel free to send me a super thanks, not required, but you can choose to click that thanks button down below this video if you want to. It helps to support videos like this one. If you got any specific questions, comment below and I'll try to post a video response. And be sure to subscribe, ring that bell, and check out all of my timepieces for tomorrow videos. Y'all have a good day. Hey y'all, Irix Guy here. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please be sure to subscribe to my channel, and when you do, ring that bell icon to be notified whenever I post another video. Thanks for your viewership, and y'all have a good day.